Hey guys, Bunny here with another video, but today's topic is quite different from the topics that I usually have. Usually I talk about um, deck guides, what decks to play, what are popular choices in the meta and everything. But recently I've been getting asked a lot more, hey Bunny, why are you promoting Firestone deck tracker? Is it the best deck tracker out there? What is it good for? Why are you promoting it? And I want to just highlight the difference between the Hearthstone deck tracker and Firestone deck tracker, what they do better relatively than the other, and why I am promoting Firestone deck tracker. So let's get right into it. Of course, I have to disclose that the Firestone is sponsoring me as a streamer. But I hope you guys know and have been watching me for long enough that you know that I don't just sell out and say this is the best deck tracker because they are paying me, but this is something that I also believe in, and I'm going to just highlight why I think this is good, why I took the sponsorship. I've been streaming for around 3 years, and I think I've taken around 2 or 3 sponsorships up in this entire time. So usually when I take up a sponsorship, it's something that I truly believe in. I've been approached by many sponsorships, but I've tried to just focus on the ones that I really feel good about promoting to my audience. So with that disclaimer being set up front, let's get right into what are the major differences between deck trackers, what I prefer about either one of them, what I personally use, and what the certain upsides are. So let me get started with what I think are the in-game upsides or differences between Firestone and Hearthstone deck tracker. The first thing that I want to show here is that if you're using Firestone deck tracker and you have one of these upgradable tradable cards, which Warlock has one, and the most common one in the meta being Amulet of the Undying for Board Priest, where it's incredibly important to keep track of how often you traded it. If you take this card and trade it with your deck, Hearthstone deck tracker will now tell you on the side that you have one Amulet of the Undying that is not traded and one that is traded +1. So this will resurrect 2 cards when drawn again. And this is really important because it also distinguishes in your deck between these 2 cards. So when you get these 2 cards offered, it will also then tell you if this card can be put on top. And let's try to put try to play this a little bit more. And if we actually get to illuminate, if we get to play illuminate, we actually get to see which one of those we are putting on top of our deck. Alright, I have now advanced the game a little bit, and you can see that I've traded another Amulet one more time. So if I'm showing you the Hearthstone Firestone deck tracker, you will see that now this Amulet has been traded twice. Right? You see Amulet of the Undying +1, and that card is twice in my deck. So both of these amulets have been traded once. This is something that's incredibly important to take and keep track of. And this will always be shown in the Firestone deck tracker. If I would now overlay the Hearthstone deck tracker, you can see Amulet of the Undying is still shown in my deck list. But it is not shown how many times this is traded. This is something that is really, really neat, I think, about the Firestone deck tracker, and one of the reasons why I do prefer it. Then, of course, we have some other really nice things. You can see, for example, if you play against a known deck, this will also work for the Innkeeper, or you can manually copy and paste the deck in there if it's known from your opponent. You can actually, I usually have this closed because if I play on ladder, I don't know what my opponent's deck is. In tournaments, I do know it and I can put it in here. My opponent, my deck tracker will actually tell me what cards are in deck, which ones are in hand. Of course, those are unknown. And the ones that are played, those it will start crossing off, and you can keep on tracking this. This Hearthstone deck tracker can do as well, but yeah, here once we have the upside with the tradables. So this is one of the nice upsides why I personally like Firestone. I have now jumped into a different game where I want to highlight another thing that I find personally really appealing about Firestone compared to other deck trackers. It's On the one hand, if you look at my screen, you will see, of course, you have an attack counter for my opponent and myself on the top hand corner here and the bottom hand corner there. Most deck trackers come with that. I find it something that's really nice to be able to input into the game. Then we have this little tooltip. As soon as you have a multicaster in your deck, it will always tell you will draw so and so many cards from multicaster. I've currently not played any spell schools, so I will not draw any cards from multicaster. And then there's another nice thing. And as soon as I will have played a battle cry, another tooltip will pop off. So now let's go and play the school teacher here. Let's take guidance. And now we see another tooltip come up here. We see school teacher was the last battle cry played, and the little icon here in the top, you might be able to see, that is the Brilliant Macaw. So if I have a Brilliant Macaw, I always know what the last battle cry is that I've currently played, which is, of course, something that you can remember, but it's another tooltip that I think is really, really nice. Firestone also comes with the ability to count spells for you. Then it comes with a damage counter, which I found really, really useful. When I play against a mage, whenever I play against a mage and there could possibly be a Mordrish in the game, it will give me a ping counter for the Mordrish. So I don't have to actually keep track of how many times my opponent has ping, is Mordrish active, how many damage has he done with his hero power. Firestone will automatically keep track of this, which I think is a really, really nice feature. I don't have these things enabled in the Hearthstone deck tracker once again, so if I will show it, you will not see any of these things extra. Both of the deck trackers do really well as they highlight the top cards on your deck as the bottom cards on your deck. Something else that I personally quite like, and that doesn't really have any thing to do with gameplay, but it's something that makes it nice for when you play, like when you view things. If you hover over the card, you actually get a picture right next to it. Of course, I know all the cards that I'm playing with, so but also cards like Sleepbreaker that create another card will be highlighted here, and it will show you that it will create a wind chill and what the wind chill does, which is especially nice, I think, for newer players. When cards create other cards that do things, it will highlight how many of these cards, what these cards look like. And then for Brukan and other more complicated cards, you have a huge overview over all the possibilities. Especially this is really nice for new players, as you can always be reminded, oh, what are the hero powers I get to choose from? What do these hero powers do? What do my minions look like? That is also true for Colossals. It will show the Colossal appendices. And one thing that they added, which is super cool, you know how when you sometimes play a Nelly and you're like, oh, well, here's the Nelly, and then I made my boat, and then I picked 3 pirates, and then I play 3 turns, but the boat doesn't die, and I'm like, what pirates were in my boat again? Yeah. Firestone's got you back. Firestone will also let you know what pirates are in your own boat. You can no longer know what is in your opponent's boat, but Firestone will always keep track of the cards that are in your own boat. So as soon as you hover over the Nelly that's in your deck, or let's say your rogue, even if it's created, as soon as you've played a Nelly, Firestone has a tooltip that you can enable where you will always see what pirates are in your boat, what cards were created from what, which is really, really nice, especially if you play Burgle Rogue and you don't really know what cards you created from what spell and where they come from, which one of those you have played already. Firestone will keep track of that for you, and then you can just look up and here like, okay, I've created these spells with Jackpot, and so are still in my hand, these and these I've played, therefore my stash will resummon those cards. Alright, now I want to talk about another aspect of all the deck trackers. Not only do they help you in-game, but they also help you outside of the game. And here I want to highlight a little bit how both of these deck trackers do stats, what I like about each one of them, which ones I prefer for which setting. So let's get started with Firestone. First of all, you can see all the decks here. Something that I really, really like that Firestone lets you do is you can select the data range in which you want to select your decks. And one of the things that I like the most, it has last patch in here. It will tell you when the last patch was, and it will filter only the decks that you've played in the last patch. So you can see which decks are relevant, which stats have to be filtered, how. And even if you've played the same deck as you played pre-patch, it will filter for you during the patch so you can know how the deck's performance is now that the patch has changed. Of course, you'll be able to see your overall stats, your win rate, your win percentage going first or on coin, the total time and games you've played in a patch, at which ranks, in which format. Of course, all these things you can see in Firestone. Sorry if this video is cut a little bit weird. We just had a fire alarm in here, which of course false alarm. But let me continue with my point. Let's move over to the deck builder. Deck builder is a feature that is not that useful for me as a professional player, as I own all the cards, but it's something that's quite useful. If you're a newer player and you don't own all the cards, you can go here, and especially when the expansion is new, you can take all the cards that are in the game and you can build your decks. Just click on a few cards, make a deck that you want to make. Firestone has a really nice collection manager as well, where it manages your entire collection. It sees all the cards you have. When you open new cards, you get new cards added to your manager. You can see if you're here, let's go construct it. Let's go into the deck builder. When you go into here, it will also let you know which of those cards you own, which of those cards you don't own, how much dust it will require for you to be able to complete the deck. It happens to be I own all the cards here right now, so I can't show that. But I think this is another really, really nice feature, especially for newer players, for Firestone, and another reason why I support them. There's something else that I don't really use, that I don't really want to get into too much. I just want to mention it. As soon as you go into duels, Firestone will recommend decks for you to be able to build. When we hover over this, when we hover over the hero powers, it will show us how many runs have been made with these decks, what is the win percentage of those, what are some high win decks, and then you'll see below here as well, for the first deck I need another 200 dust to craft it, for the next deck I need another 1700 dust to craft it. It will tell me everything I need to know. Also, if I hover over the characters, it will tell me what the win rate of these characters is, what the popularity are. So I can just kind of choose and play which one of these want if I want the highest chance of winning. And if I don't want to spend a lot of dust, I can also see how much dust I need to spend to be able to craft the deck, which has a lot of wins. What I want to show about Hearthstone Deck Tracker, what something is that I use and how I currently use it, is if you go to the statistics tab and then we go on constructed, something that is really nice is I can have here a summary with the class win rates. When I do this in Firestone, I need to go and sort everything by the different decks I have played. I've not had this tracker on for a while, so that's why my stats here are very, very small. Yes, like what are the win rates with certain classes against other classes? What have I played? I can, of course, also select different times. If I go into matches, I can also sort by opponent's name in a certain time frame to be able to see what they play, what they've like. If I face them again, what I've played against recently, I can look them up and be like, oh, what was their deck? What did they play? Kind of refresh my mind. And I think the way that the stats are done in Hearthstone Deck Tracker is superior to what is done in Firestone. I'm sponsored by Firestone. I think Firestone does a lot of things better, but not quite everything. So this like stats overlay is something that I personally quite like about Hearthstone Deck Tracker. So what do I personally do? What I personally do is I go in Options, General, and then I hide this completely. I basically just, I turn on Hearthstone Deck Tracker, but I never look at it. I hide it completely and I just let it run as a background program to collect my stats. Because I think anything that is in-game overlay, Firestone kind of does a better job for me. And like I said, for newer players, Firestone has some additional options. And then for me as a pro that's very interested in stats, I let Firestone run in the foreground because it does everything that I need in game in the best way that I have seen. And then I let the Hearthstone Deck Tracker run in the background, collect the stats. And when I need to analyze stats, I will go back to that, look at sample sizes, look at decks, look at opponents. And yeah, basically use both of them together. So what is my conclusion to this? Do we both need all those deck trackers? I don't think you need both deck trackers. I personally recommend, especially to the newer players, I would just recommend Firestone. But I think if you're super serious and you want to be really try hard, kind of like me, I would recommend doing it the same way I do. Run the Firestone in the foreground, let it do all the nice stuff that you can do in game additionally, that has like the additional pieces of information, things that you don't want to forget, things that are just easier to remember, so you can use your brain power on the game. Let Hearthstone Deck Tracker install it, as like install both of them. Let Hearthstone Deck Tracker run in the background and use it to analyze your stats to be able to prepare better for tournaments and get like more easily access to meaningful statistics. Of course, Firestone also has some stats, which is really, really nice because I can like have a really good overview for one specific deck. But if I want to just take more data together for decks that have been slightly similar in the way that they've been played out, if I changed a few cards but haven't changed the deck too much, I will then go back and use bigger analysis. I hope you really enjoyed this video. I hope it's now a little bit more clear. Long story short, I use both, but I think for most purposes, Firestone is totally sufficient. Let me know what you guys are using. Let me know what you think of this. Is there anything I missed about either deck tracker? I don't want to do injustice to one of them, but this is my personal experience so far. Like everything on my channel here, those are not objective truth. I guess this is just like my personal experience. I'm gonna have to sell out a little bit at the end here. If this now has convinced you to use Firestone, and I hope I can't make this any clearer, but I'm not making this video because I'm a sellout and because I want to sell you this product. I'm not getting more money from selling. Like, I'm not getting more money from you downloading Firestone, period. But if you like this video and it's now convinced you to use Firestone, I've popped a link in there below that they use to track how active I am as a person in bringing people to the business, maybe to involve me more in further development of the app. And so this will make it obvious that it's very important for me to deliver the best deck tracker to all of you guys, and it'll also make it more clear to the developers that this is something that I'm interested in. So if you check out the link below, if you haven't used it already, that's all I got for now. Thank you very much. Always leave a like and a sub to the channel, and I'll see you guys on stream.